remember being in the car and doing like scattered, harried phone call, and Dani Donovan shows up in Batman boxers.
I forgot about that.
And I was like, oh my God, we need to be friends. This episode is sponsored by Babel, which I'm using to learn Italian. After we recorded this video, Dani and I talked about going on a trip together, and we decided on Italy. Yeah, I still haven't gone yet. I really want to though, so I switched my learning from Dutch back to Italian, which was super easy. You can just toggle them back and forth. It was cool to be able to review and see that I'd retained most of what I'd learned months ago. La nuvola. La pioggia. A che ora sei libero sabato? Hey, what? I quickly figured out I still had a lot more to learn. Oggi pioggia. Prendi l'ombrello. Oh, wait. I'm learning new things, so I'm getting a lot wrong. No, piove. Ah, piove. This is humbling. I thought I knew all these things. I was really glad I decided to keep learning before the trip. And because Babel is designed by actual language teachers, that learning happens fast. I love that I'm getting lessons in grammar and actually learning how to use the language rather than just memorizing random words. And the progressive lessons do a fantastic job of reinforcing what I've learned. But it's also fun enough to want to stick with it long enough to make real progress, which, as we know, is not always the easiest thing for those with ADHD. And if you ever need more support, they also have live language lessons, and you get 2 free with your subscription. If you'd like to learn a new language, I highly recommend Babel. Just click the link in the description below or scan this QR code for 60% off your subscription. Other side. And let me know in the comments below what kind of language you want to learn and why. Ciao! Arrivederci! 1, 2, 3. Hello, brains! So good. So we have a really unusual friendship, and it's very ADHD. And so that's why I wanted to talk about it. Like, it's a bit of an odd origin story. It's also a bit odd, like how we are friends. But I wanted to talk about it because I've always had this idea that, like, to be a good friend, it means a certain thing, and it means that you read their texts and that you text them back within 24 hours, and that you talk to them more than every 6 months. And like, there's a whole lot of criteria, I think, that was in my head about what it means to be a friend. And you are like actually one of my closest friends, I think, but we barely talk.
But then when we do, it's like the whole avalanche, you know, of like, here are all of the things that have happened in the last 3 months.
So I was going to call this video our super ADHD friendship, like our super ADHD friendship.
It is super ADHD.
Super ADHD. But I told that to my producer, who thought we were doing a video about our super ADHD friendship. So now I kind of want to do like
our super friendship, not our ADHD friendship.
Yeah. Well, okay. What makes our friendship super ADHD, first of all?
So, okay. Not just the communication, you know, element, but I think it's the deep understanding of where the other person is coming from, because there are very few people in my life who, again, fundamentally understand my experiences and validate my experiences like others with ADHD. You are like the ultimate of ADHD validation because you know your stuff. When I want to talk to somebody about ADHD stuff, there's nobody I'd rather do it with.
Aw. Okay, that makes sense. It's a super ADHD friendship because we talk about ADHD a lot, but also because we both. I don't feel like we mask our ADHD either.
I mean, I don't do that around anybody really. I don't know how. I never really practiced.
You don't know how to mask?
Not really. I mean, I don't feel like it. It just takes a lot of work, and I'm like, if you don't like me, you're lame. I'm just kidding.
That must be so nice. I'm starting to learn to take my mask off, but I do have an easier time not masking around other people who don't mask.
Yeah.
So, like, I have a couple of ADHD friends that are just blatantly ADHD. Yeah.
This is what you get.
Yeah. And I really like it because it makes it a safe space to unmask myself. But it's also, it's also a very ADHD friendship because of the like long gaps in communication where we forget that the other person exists, and then we discover each other again, and it's like the same way that you discover
it's new
that
and
you
novel.
like left $20 in your pocket and you're like, oh, that's great. It's like, all right, I have a really good friend that I can talk to about this stuff, and like we reconnect, and then we forget, and then we remember.
You are the $20 in my pocket.
Aw, Kenny. That's the best compliment ever.
Is it?
I took it as one. Somebody who's helped out with quite a few things on the channel, his name's Scott, kept telling me about this person named Dani Donovan. He's like, I think it would be great if you were friends. And meanwhile, I was like doing talk after talk and like drowning in like, I'm trying to do this video and that video. He was determined. He was like, seriously, you should meet Dani. And I was like, okay. And he had never been quite that, like, brought it up that many times. And so eventually I was like, okay, I should meet Dani Donovan. And we did a FaceTime. Or
Yeah.
I was in my car, I think in Rochester, New York.
Yeah.
And I had no time for anything, but I was like, all right, I got it.
You walked to a coffee shop.
Yeah, I went to a coffee shop. But I remember being in the car and doing like scattered, harried phone call, and Dani Donovan shows up in Batman boxers.
I forgot about that.
Our very first meeting. And I was like, oh my God, we need to be friends.
I'm so bad at answering text messages because, and I never understood why, but they're like tiny little obligations. And they pile up. And so I'm like, well, this person just texted me, but I have this other person that I need to respond to. So if I respond to this person before I respond to that person, what does that, that makes me kind of, and so then I just won't respond to anybody. Like that's kind of what it turns into, especially when I get overwhelmed, whether it's with work stuff or, personal stuff.
Yeah, and then there's
communication is kind of what's first to go for me.
Yeah, same. I'll cocoon, and then a while later, I'll be like, okay, cool, I'm ready to start peopling again. But then I'll go and like get overwhelmed by like all of the messages that I've ignored, and I don't know where to start. I don't know how to prioritize.
Yes.
And it also feels like the ADHD urge to make up for how long it's been. Yes. It feels like you can't just be like, hey, what's up? And anyway, like you can't just answer a text message that happened 3 weeks ago as if no time has passed.
I have answered ones months later, and I have a copy. When I finally decide I'm going to answer text messages, I type out a like little paragraph of, hey, a lot of stuff's been going on, so I'm like sorry that it's taken me forever to get back. And then I'll copy and paste that part, and then the second paragraph I will answer the text message. I don't really apologize very much.
No, we don't apologize. That's what's so fun about it. We just are like, yeah, it's just been 6 months. Anyway, hi, how are you doing? I actually did get insecure recently because it just popped into my head like, I bet she talks to some people more than once every few months. Wait, I'm not one of them. Wait, does that mean she doesn't actually like me as much as I think she does? And I like started spiral out. But what was cool about it is I could just reach out to her and be like, hey, Dani, do you actually not like me? Because that's what my brain's telling me right now.
I need phone calls. I receive a text message while I'm in the middle of something. And I got so actually good at ignoring my phone so that I could focus on the thing at hand. I didn't used to be able to do that. I'm much better at focusing on things now, and I'm much worse at texting.
Same.
But what has happened is if I tell people all the time, like, please, if you FaceTime me, I will pick up unless I'm busy. But the thing is I'm a millennial, and a lot of people just in general, don't like phone calls. They prefer text messages that they can answer when it's convenient. Whereas I'm like, I want to be in the moment, like we are talking. I don't have to like second guess how, what you're feeling because I can read your body language a little bit better.
This is how like long we go without talking sometimes. I'll be like, oh yeah, so like I'm moving in with this guy, and she's like, you broke up with the other guy? Like
that is exactly what happened.
What happened? There's something really valuable about knowing that you're there if I need you. Because even though we do go a long period of time without talking, I know that if I was in a... I know that... I know.
If you were
way
what?
Too comfortable with you.
You knew that you were what? One more time.
I know that if I were in a flocking crisis, that you would be there for me.
Geese are no joke. Yeah, no, and it's true. And the other thing is that I have emoji codes with friends. And so I've got some where like if one of us has not responded and the other person really wanted an answer, we'll just send a little ghost emoji. Or if something is like really
Aw.
high priority, like and like do not ignore this, please get back to me as soon as you can, sending a little fire emoji at the beginning of the text. And so it makes it really clear, like those signals to me that represent like, oh, okay, like this person really wants to hear from me. I will make sure that this happens, versus some people, you know, it might not be as pressing.
Well, it's nice because it gives you a way to prioritize, because if you just see like a ton of texts, it's really actually difficult. It's one of the ADHD things, right? The difficulty with prioritizing, and then you end up with like decision paralysis of like, I don't know who to text or what to say to who, so I'm just not going to. Texting is optional. If somebody texts you, like it is asynchronous. You're supposed to get to it when you can, and sometimes for content creators, that's like when I'm done with this book is when I can, or whatever.
Yeah.
But having a way to say like, hey, like, no, like as soon as you can, not like when it's convenient.
And what's really funny is I use emojis for like so many different purposes, because you went turtle mode for like a little bit. And I have a friend that we call it box mode. And when someone's in that mode where they're not very responsive, or they're going through a lot and they're overwhelmed, and I have to kind of shift my expectations for a little bit of like what to expect from them, I literally put a little box emoji or a little turtle emoji next to their phone, or next to their name on my phone. And so it's a like literal reminder sometimes of, oh, A, do I need to like reach out and check in on them and see if they're doing okay? But B, also, if I text and they don't respond, then I'm like, okay, like I almost forgot that they were going through some stuff, but now I remember.
Yeah. I think I'm going to put a butterfly, because to me it's cocooning. I talk about cocooning, and there is something transformative. Like when I'm cocooning, it means I'm going through some stuff. Like either I'm writing a book or I'm processing some really heavy stuff or whatever, but like I'm going through stuff that makes it so that I need my energy here. I need to not put it all outside of me. I need some energy for me. And so I'm like cocooning. But yeah, then if I put a butterfly, I'll remember that the people will come out a butterfly.
Into a beautiful butterfly.
Yeah.
Sorry. I cannot help it.
Yeah, this was with my boyfriend, but sometimes he wouldn't know how to respond to a text that I sent him, especially if it was an emotionally laden text. And so sometimes he just wouldn't respond, which was very hurtful, because we'd be having a conversation about something inconsequential and he'd be responding. And then as soon as like I said something vulnerable or a little bit emotional, he would just drop off. And so we came up with just sending a heart, like send a heart back. If you don't know what to say, just send a heart. And yeah. And then I can always be like, you know, later, like, hey, you know, that, like, can we actually talk about the thing? Because I want to talk about it. But at least, like, it's the heart like, I know what the heart means. The heart means, I love you. I have no idea how to respond to this right now, but I want you to know that I love you. And so that, yeah, I agree with the emoji code. Like, one way to make ADHD friendships work, where you do have the, like, I might forget that you exist for a while thing happen, is having at least like, you know, 1 or 2 touch points that you know you will see them. If you don't know when you're ever gonna see them again, and then you have the out of sight, out of mind ADHD thing, then it's easy to just like wander off from friendships completely. But if you know, like, oh, there is, like, I might see you sooner, but there is a time at which I know for sure I will see you, and that gives me security too, because I'm like, yeah, all right, like, we will still be friends, and if I forget that we're friends, like, I will remember at this event. And
for me, like, I spontaneously FaceTime people when I have energy, and I'm just like hoping to catch people at a time when they are free and also have energy.
I love that you do that, because like texting is not as connecting to me as like a face to face or whatever, and it kind of replicates the in-person thing too, or like, oh cool, like there's a surprise
energy event. Well, especially if you're an energetic person, but like if you've got a story and the other person's like, what, like, oh, are you, it's so much more fun to talk to someone when you get to see their reaction, I think, for me.
That's true.
Versus like talking to just text. There was a time where part of a conversation like hurt my feelings a little bit, and we came back to it the next time I talked to her. I'm like, hey, this is how that made me feel, and I do not think that was the intention, but this is how I'm feeling. And you were like, oh, I'm so sorry. This is what I meant, and this and this and this. I go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did not just sit there with that and stew on it and feel like it was intentional, because I think sometimes we often, especially when I've got ADHD, and I know I appreciate when other people do that with me, I might continue straight forward and not realize that like one sentence caught somebody the wrong way. And if they don't bring it up to me, then I'll never, know about it.
Yeah. I like the way that you brought it up, too. I'd forgotten about that.
It's okay.
But I did like the way that you brought it up, too, because you gave me the benefit of the doubt. You were like, I don't think this was your intention. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, this is how it made me feel. Which was nice, because then I was able to agree with you instead of like having to
be on the defensive.
Yeah. Be like, but that's not what I meant. It was like, yeah, you're right. Like, that's not what I meant by it. But I can, hopefully I validate. I don't know.
Yes, you did.
I would usually do it. Like, I would usually validate somebody and be like, I can see why it would have come across that way. I'm sorry. This is what I actually meant.
I think that so many people with ADHD just have such big hearts and are so like sensitive and are really like warm and caring and want to make, everybody happy and feel good all the time. And I know for me in some conversations where I'm even this one, as I'm saying it, you're like discovering the sentence as you're talking, where you don't like think through what you want to say before it comes out of your mouth. And then
what's that like?
I know, cannot relate. But I cannot say the amount of times where sometimes I say something and I say the wrong thing. And then I have to like backtrack, and then, but people with ADHD, in my experience, have been a lot more understanding of oh no, that wasn't exactly, what you meant. And I understand what it's like to talk off the top of your head.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that's true. A lot of the neurotypical friends that I have, like, they're still in the back of their head kind of going, but did she mean to say it that way? And now she's just backpedaling because, or whatever. Like, with ADHD, like, yeah, you didn't say things the way that you intended to. Yeah, that's kind of par for the course. Or you were emotionally impulsive and, like, said the raw reaction before you even had time to think about, like, how you actually feel about it or what the person was even saying. Thank you again to Babel for sponsoring this video. Click the link in the description or scan the QR to get 60% off your subscription. Thank you to my brain advocates and all my Patreon brains. Dani's decided the episode is over now. I'm hungry. We've been talking for a while. Thank you so much for supporting us and allowing us to make content like this. If you like this video, please let us know. It's a different type of video. We're just hanging out and talking to camera, so please let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, subscribe, click all the things, and we will see you next video. Oh, wait. Tell them about your anti-planner.
I have a book. It's over here. Wait. Underneath the Parmesan cheese.
Friendship is great and all, but have you ever wanted to get something done?
I shouldn't have eaten the popcorn. Popcorn in my teeth.
You can see our video about the anti-planner here.
Yes, I made a book. It's on how to get stuff done, and it's got 165 different ways to do it. You should get it. It's awesome. I made it. You can get it at antiplanner.com.
Oh yeah, so you can check out Dani's comics. We'll put a bunch of links in the description below. You can check out her comics. You can support her Patreon. You can buy the anti-planner, have your very own copy. This thing is amazing. We did a whole video about it here. And you could just follow her awesomeness.
On all the things.
Yeah, at Dani Donovan on all the things.
On all the things. You have to say bye, brains. You have to say bye, brains. How will they know it's time to leave?
All right, you want to do it with me?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Bye, brains.